All right, well, we're back. We're going to do a little check-in of what's going on right now as this line has kind of entered our area now. And then again, what we're expecting to see as it continues pushing across our area. I'll just start off by saying positive news so far. We have not yet had any severe thunderstorm warnings in our area, and I don't believe that we've had any severe thunderstorm warnings actually across our state. So far, this thing has kind of been mellow, but obviously we're still keeping our eye on it as it pushes further into our area. So let's talk about where we're seeing things right now. Obviously you can see on the radar there is one severe thunderstorm warning that is outside of our state entirely. That's over there in Alabama, just kind of west of the Columbus area here. And that's the only warning that we have with this entire line at the moment. The rest of it is over our area now, and there's kind of two sections here, but it's really all a part of the same line. So what we're left with in our northern counties, where most of the brunt of things have kind of already rolled through, excuse me, in Hancock, Baldwin, Jasper, Putnam, Jones, Monroe, and Upson counties, we're left with right now what looks to be just a lot of rain here. There's a couple of occasional lightning strikes in those areas, even in North Bibb. Now, I'll note this is kind of the counties that have already seen the earlier cluster of showers and storms that came through first. So the line right now is somewhat in two sections, but again, it's really all a part of the same line. So you may be thinking, okay, well, I'm kind of here for round two, but this is really just what looks to be mostly some rain. Occasionally there have been some gusty winds within this. There's been a few special weather statements, which you may have heard us talk about before. That's what they do when it's not quite a severe thunderstorm, but the winds are still gusty enough for them to kind of make a note about things. So there's been a few of those from time to time, but other than that, we've stayed out of really needing warnings and things like that. So if we kind of just take a look at the winds, occasionally we're getting wind gusts that can maybe get up to 55 to 60 miles an hour from time to time. But again, we haven't gone with a warning yet, so there may not be enough of those for that to really be kind of sustained. Mostly we're probably seeing wind gusts in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range. So that is definitely the case right now in Monroe County. And then if we kind of look further out, probably a few of those in northern Bibb as well, and then maybe some gusty winds over in Jones County also. And then ahead of things, where a few of those clusters are running a little early, we do have one thunderstorm right now that is over Wilkinson County. So if we look at the winds on this one here, not quite as gusty. Yeah, maybe occasionally again up to that 50 mile per hour range here. Yeah, I'm getting one about 47, but still, and I'll kind of sound like a broken record here for a little bit, not within the severe thunderstorm criteria there. So you can kind of point out here just by looking at the velocity where the winds are a little bit gusty, and that's kind of this section here from about Monroe all the way into Jones and then parts of northern Bibb. Again, not super gusty, but occasionally in that 40 to 50 mile per hour range. And then there is some rain happening there and some lightning as well. So if you're in downtown Macon, I know earlier we were watching kind of a shelf cloud and maybe a little bit of a gusty storm rolling across downtown Macon. You may have thought, okay, now that that's passed, we're kind of in the clear. Not really. It was just a little bit of a cluster of storms that was running kind of ahead of this line, and now kind of the rest of it is catching up here. So that'll be rolling over downtown Macon before too long. And then hopefully after that is through, everything will be kind of pushing out of our northwestern counties and heading a little further down into places like Crawford, Taylor, Macon, Peach, Houston, Twiggs, southern Wilkinson, and then areas like Johnson, and then probably northern Lawrence before too long. This is kind of the only other section that I haven't really touched on is over here in Macon County towards Montezuma, but I'm not really getting a ton of, excuse me, a ton of very bright values here, so the winds there maybe just not really very gusty at all. Let's check and see if we do have any hail though at the moment. We have had that from time to time, but it's nothing too large. We've had some hail that's been less than ½ inch in diameter from time to time, so obviously you don't really want to be caught in any sort of hail, but that's definitely not quite as bad as we've seen, especially this month alone. So there is a little bit of hail kind of over I-16 in Twiggs County right now, in northern Twiggs County, south of the Dry Branch area. That's again still less than ½ inch in diameter, so relatively small. There's also another small hail core just north of Jefferson. So the only hail that we really have is in Twiggs County. Again, not large, still less than ½ inch in diameter in both spots, but still kind of an indication that that may be where the storms are kind of the gustiest at the moment. And then further south or further north, it doesn't really look like we have any other areas of that, at least right now, except for maybe outside of Macon County. So with that kind of being the current situation, let's take this forward a little bit and talk about when this is going to be rolling across the rest of our area. So you just saw there's a new severe thunderstorm warning. It's really been issued over Augusta and then parts of South Carolina. And you can just tell by looking at it that that's kind of where the storm is a little bit gustier than what we're seeing in our area here. So they are within that level 3 risk. Maybe that part of the line is a little bit gustier than the part that we have here. And that is, besides the one that's over in Alabama, the only other severe thunderstorm warning that we have at the moment here. So speaking of the Storm Prediction Center outlook, just to show you where we stand right now, most of our counties are in the level 2 of 5 risk for severe weather today. And I kind of been saying this throughout the day, but we do have a level 3 that exists for our eastern counties. I somewhat consider that to be kind of a low-end level 3. Generally, the story is I don't think there's a huge distinction between what's going to be going on in the level 3 versus what's going to be going on in the level 2. The real main reason that they've gone with this is because within the level 3, there's a slightly higher chance for winds to get just a little bit gustier. So the name of the game all day is really we're going to be watching for moments of pretty gusty winds. We'll be watching for a chance for brief spin-up tornadoes, so that is kind of on the table as well. But the gusty winds are the main thing that we're going to be paying attention to. So that's where things stand as of the outlook. And just to kind of show you what the risks are that we're expecting. Again, this time frame is not very long. We're in kind of the middle of this whole event right now, and it'll be winding down, meaning leaving our southeastern counties by the time we approach maybe 7 to 8 p.m. tonight. But the main things that we're going to be paying attention to, again, that's gusty and damaging winds. Whenever you think of the potential for today, I want that to be the first thing that pings off in your brain. Hail, which we've seen from time to time. Luckily, we haven't really picked up on any hail cores that have been super large. So hail right now has been relatively small, but it has been something that has been noted from time to time in a couple of these storms. So something we'll keep paying attention to for the rest of the afternoon into the evening as well. And like I said just a minute ago, there's a chance for a brief spin-up tornado. Really just means that this line with some of those gusty winds, it may from time to time try to rotate just a little bit and maybe drop a brief spin-up tornado. So those are the things that we're paying attention to here. And I'll say, besides the hail and occasionally gusty winds, we really haven't seen much else so far. So if we're kind of going by what the graph is showing right now, doing a fairly good job, although our line is maybe a little bit more broken up than what this shows here, but the general idea still stands. So we're kind of right now at this 3:30 hour in the starting to enter into the Bibb County area, and then it'll be in downtown Macon before too long. So this is tracking quite time-wise along with what's going on outside right now. So that means by 4, maybe 4:30, we're starting to talk about the southern Twiggs, southern Wilkinson, southern Washington, entering into Johnson, Lawrence, parts of northern Bleckley and the Houston County area, as well as Peach and probably Macon counties also. And then pushing a little further into the evening, 5, that's when we're really in the Dublin region, in the Trutland County area, and again, further into the Bleckley, probably Cochran, Dooley, and then pushing into places like Dodge County, Telfair, Wheeler, Montgomery, Wilcox, and Crisp by 6 to 7 p.m. tonight, and then moving out of here by the time 7 to 8 p.m. is all said and done. I can hear the rain coming down now over the station, which means we're probably seeing this in downtown Macon. I also do want to note, before I go back to and try to see the sky cam on here, oh, actually, our sky cam is down here in Macon, but just a little bit ago, probably in the last 30 minutes or so, the Storm Prediction Center and the National Weather Service decided to extend our severe thunderstorm watch to include the counties that were not originally included. If you were watching with us earlier, you'll remember it's not many counties that weren't originally included, I believe, and this is kind of me going off of the top of my head here, but Trutland, Montgomery, Wheeler, Telfair, Dodge, Wilcox, Pulaski, Dooley, and Crisp, I believe, were not originally included, and now they are. I really wouldn't hang on to this too closely. Honestly, in my personal opinion, I think they kind of should have been in it originally the whole time. But this really just means, even as this pushes into our southern counties, we're just going to be paying attention to the chance for some of these storms to become strong to potentially severe as well. So it's really not a big difference. Don't get too hung up on it. But it just means that we'll keep watching this line the whole way through our area, which we were really going to be doing either way. So there's that, just to show you that there is kind of a severe thunderstorm potential there. I know a lot of times people really want to see this, so we'll talk about this as well. The big takeaway with a product like this is that I just want you to know that there's kind of a chance for us to have, like I said earlier, a brief spin up tornado. That means something that would kind of touch down briefly and pick back up almost as quickly as it came down. When you start getting values that are white or maybe that light green, that's when you're really talking about that brief spin up chance. When you start seeing values that are more like yellows, oranges, reds, pinks, that's when the chance is a little more substantial, and we'd be talking about tornadoes that would be potentially a little bit more damaging. So we're really in the white, we're in the low end chance, and it just means that all evening while this line comes across, we just got to be paying attention and making sure that there's not any areas that try to do a little bit of brief rotating here. There's not really a huge distinction between certain areas in our region of who's got a better chance to see it. It's really just kind of a blanket across our whole area. There is a chance for kind of brief spin-ups, but it's not a major chance at that. And like I said, gusty winds is really going to be the thing that we're paying attention to more than anything. So with that kind of background and what we're expecting to see in the next little bit or so, we can flip it back to the radar. Like I said, I wish I could show you our downtown skycam, but maybe it's back up and running.
It's just a static line shot.
Oh, but it just doesn't move.
Can't move it.
Okay, so I can
Next week and fix it.
turn it on. I just can't move it around.
That's
So
right.
this is
That way all we
the scene in downtown Macon right now, where the rain's starting to come down. We can hear it in the station. Anything notable going on out there?
Just rain.
Ben says just rain outside. So right now it's just raining. And you can see it's coming down pretty good, especially in the distance. So it may be impacting visibility just a touch if you've got to be out on the roads right now. But other than that, again, most of what I'm coming on here to say is encouraging news. So far we haven't really dealt with too much that's been overly crazy, which is obviously good news. When you've got ingredients lining up like this, we get the level 2, we get partial areas in a level 3, we've got a true frontal boundary coming through, when we've got enough instability in the atmosphere, that's when we really want to say, okay, we're going to be paying attention to this. And so far, things have just been a lot better than they looked like they might pan out to be. And I can hear the rain. It's coming down pretty hard now over the station. So just to do a general pulse check back in with the winds here, again, when you start to see occasionally some of the values get a little bit brighter, that means from time to time we are getting a pretty good wind gust. And I consistently am seeing wind gusts over 50 miles an hour, so there's a chance that from time to time we're having one of those. There may not be enough of them to really have a severe thunderstorm warning there. But regardless, I think if you are experiencing one of these storms right now, you probably can look out your window and say, yeah, it's pretty gusty out there. So at least wind gusts in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range, maybe from time to time a little bit gustier than that, but maybe just not enough of them to have a true warning. That's kind of the case in northern Bibb right now as well, and kind of southern Monroe. That's where I've kind of consistently seen winds stay up the most. Still in that 40 to 50 mile an hour range there. In terms of, I'm sure people are asking this, and in just a moment I'll turn to the comments, but I don't, at least right now, see any real indication of rotation going on outside, so that is a good sign as well. Again, that's just something what we're going to be paying attention to throughout the kind of afternoon into the evening here, but not something that is a major concern. It's really the winds that we'll be watching for mostly for the rest of the evening here. So that's again where things stand at the moment. I'll turn to the Facebook comments now and see if there are any questions that I can answer for you all. Some of the comments make me laugh. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing a few people saying that their power flickered or they lost power. And yeah, I still think even though we don't necessarily have any warnings, if you catch a good enough gust, I do think from time to time that may be able to take down maybe some tree branches or maybe enough to knock your power or at least make it flicker for a little bit there. Okay, the only real question I see here is about if I'm seeing any hail still. We checked in on that just a minute ago, and there was 2 little baby hail cores, which I'll keep it on the reflectivity here for just a second, but you can kind of see there's the most cluster of lightning strikes happening here, so where the lightning's going off kind of the most, I would say out of everywhere right now, is over in Wilkinson County where things are kind of clustered up, and that's where the hail cores are also. So if I flip that over to the hail, that's kind of an indication that what's going on in southern Wilkinson is kind of, if I had to put a label on everything that's going on, maybe the gustiest of all the storms that we're seeing right now. But still, the hail cores haven't been so bad. Every time that we've checked in on them, it's been less than half an inch in diameter, and that's still the case right now. That first hail core that I'm clicking on right now is kind of north of Nicholsville here, south of Irwinton. And then the next one, which may be just a touch larger, is south of Irwinton and kind of east of Jeffersonville, which would be in Twiggs County, but this is in Wilkinson. Just a little bit larger. The hail core here is up to half an inch in diameter. So again, neither of these are extremely large hail cores. Obviously, we don't want hail falling from the sky at all. But in terms of just being at a level 2 and some of these areas being in a level 3, we'll definitely take hail that's not very big at all. I see a little bit more now also in Macon County, south of Montezuma. From the colors that I'm getting here, it looks to be about the same size. Yeah, less than half an inch south of Montezuma, and then all the way on the western side of the county, that's going to be just a teeny tiny bit bigger, but still less than half an inch. So we will consider that to be good news as well. The smaller size hail we keep getting, I think that's going to be good news for us for this afternoon. So I'm going to also make sure I'm not missing anything in the National Weather Service chat. So what it seems like right now is just a bunch of those special weather statements, which I mentioned a minute ago, is when the National Weather Service is saying, okay, well, it's not necessarily a total run-of-the-mill thunderstorm. The winds are a little bit gusty, but it's definitely not a severe thunderstorm. So that's kind of what I would consider a lot of these areas to be and what they're considering that to be as well. I think the main one, I don't have my phone so I can't see, but I think there's one right now over Wilkinson, Twiggs, parts of Lawrence, that area where we just mentioned the hail. I know that one for sure, and potentially there are maybe a few more spots. Just the one? Yeah, okay, so the National Weather Service is saying kind of the only area that they're really paying attention to right now is this one where we mentioned the hail and the lightning strikes are kind of clustered together. Rainfall is probably pretty good there also. Everywhere else is not looking so bad right now. I'll put the downtown Macon Skycam on one more time just so you can get a look outside of what's going on here. Again, I can't move it around, so we're kind of stuck with this view, but you can still see. I mean, the rain's still coming down. We'll probably get a gust of wind from time to time that might blow the Skycam around just a little bit here, but generally, which I'm never complaining. I feel like a broken record saying things are looking okay, but that's definitely good news. I don't think we're ever wishing for it to be worse than it actually is. So positive news right now. And I'm looking over the other sky cams to see how things are looking. There's Perry, where you can kind of see the line moving in there. Thank you, Ben. Yeah, you get a pretty good picture of the shelf cloud there, at least a little bit. And the rain's starting to move in. And you can see the winds picking up there also. So, and downtown Dublin kind of has a similar sight also. Thanks. And there is downtown Dublin, which is kind of just some impressive clouds. Yeah. Which I think is because that, I hear the rain now. The thunderstorm that we were talking about just a minute ago that had the lightning and had the hail, that's the one that we're looking at. Yeah. There it is. I'll turn it a little more. Yeah, so that's that one we were just talking about a minute ago with hail. And we turn it, you can kind of see the leading edge, the bottom of it there. And definitely you can tell it's dumping a lot of rain. You can also almost see it moving there. Man, it's coming down at the station. And we don't really need a ton of rain right now. This is a look at rainfall over the past 5 days, just to kind of give you a perspective, and we're probably adding on to this a little bit, at least in downtown Macon, I can hear. But areas like Wheeler have already seen up to 6 inches of rain in the past couple of days. In Macon County, Taylor County, maybe over 8 inches of rain. It's just absolutely insane. And then areas that haven't, we've had those lines for the past few days that have just been coming in straight from the west. So now we're kind of dealing with more of a northwesterly direction. So that's why you're seeing lighter values over towards our eastern counties here. So yeah, maybe not even close to as impressive over in places like Washington County. But that's where they're starting to get some more rain at the moment. So we'll kind of see if these rainfall totals are able to even out, and then hopefully, the rain just doesn't come down quite as much in places that really don't need it. I know I have heard from even just people at our station that their backyards are flooding, and I know when I walk around in my apartment complex, I've seen a lot of areas of flooding. So we're not in any sort of flash flood risk or any sort of flood warning or any sort of watch or anything like that. But if you've got kind of low-lying areas near your home or things like that, rainfall is definitely something that we'll be paying attention to for the rest of the evening as well. And rainfall is definitely the biggest thing happening in downtown Macon right now. You can see the red values right over Macon, and you can hear it probably if you're watching the stream right now, because I feel like usually our microphones do a good job picking up on that. Let's see if there's still some hail happening over here in Wilkinson. Still looks like it. And the winds are kind of gusty there also. Remember, that's the storm that we were looking at from downtown Dublin. The one that looks probably the most impressive out of anything here. It's still got a little bit of hail, and if I flip back over to the sky cam, you can still see it. It's definitely got an ominous look to it. Again, not a severe storm, so still not quite as bad as at least it could be, but definitely a strong storm with some good bit of lightning and a lot of heavy rainfall and even some areas of hail. That's just got quite an ominous sight from downtown Dublin there. So we'll kind of keep clicking around the sky cams too, because I know we checked in with Perry a minute ago. I also can move the Warner Robins one around, but that's the same site in Perry. We're kind of just looking at the distance of these storms that haven't quite rolled over these sky cams just yet. And Perry has one that also has a good bit of lightning and some pretty heavy rainfall also. Let's see if I can make the Warner Robins one show something interesting. Kind of sounds nice here at the station, with knowing that we're not in any sort of severe weather, at least at the moment. Just some nice rainfall. Here's a look at the radar if we're talking about that Perry sky cam, where their kind of shower and thunderstorm is just to the south of Perry. And it's just got a couple of lightning strikes. I don't think this is one of our areas of hail. Yeah, that's still out in Macon County, south of Montezuma. So around the board, it's really just a couple of thunderstorms that from time to time have a good little wind gust there, and there's been a couple of areas of small hail, and there's some clusters of lightning. And aside from that, that's really been the biggest thing so far this afternoon, at least. This will kind of keep pushing. Again, by the time we're entering maybe 4 to 5 p.m. later this evening, it'll start to truly make its way into the Houston County area, and then just keep on pushing south until it's out of here, and it will be done early. This will not be an overnight threat. We'll be done by the time we hit 7, 8 p.m. tonight, and you can go to bed peacefully knowing a much better weekend is on the way this weekend. We really don't have rain chances on the way for Saturday, and the rain chance you see for Sunday is going to be slight, if anything is even still showing. So we'll just kind of keep checking in here. Again, almost our whole team is here. David and Ben are both sitting in the weather center, so we'll just keep keeping our eye on things, and as we head towards 5 p.m., obviously you'll see Ben Jones with the full forecast. And generally, if you want to take anything away from the stream so far, it's just that this has kind of been a positive situation. We really haven't had any warnings, and definitely we have some moments of gusty winds and some lightning, but otherwise things have been a lot better than they could be in the level 2 and in the level 3. So we'll take that while we have it, and that's all I got for right now. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll keep keeping you informed. So thanks for sticking with us.